Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I'd like to first say hello to everyone here at our main site. I'd also like to welcome everyone at our regional sites. We have folks out in East County, North Coastal, North Inland, and South Region. Again, welcome everyone. If you could please have a seat. My name is Barbara Jimenez. Okay, we need to lower it a little bit. So we'll adjust it. Thank you all for being here. My name is Barbara Jimenez. I'm with Health and Human Services Agency, and I'm the Deputy Director for the Central Region and the South Region. And I'd like to also introduce Tom.
I'm Tom Splitgerber, and I'm the San Diego County Veteran Service Officer.
So if everyone could please stand, I'm going to ask the Mira Mesa High School Air Force Junior ROTC to present the colors.
Please join me in the pledge. Cover your hearts, and veterans, you may hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank the Mira Mesa High School Air Force Junior ROTC who came in today, even though they're on summer break. Please be seated. The program will begin in just a few minutes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We obviously have good audio here. My name is Pam Smith. I'm the Director of San Diego County Aging and Independent Services, and I want to welcome you here today. This is our first ever Live Well San Diego Summit and is the beginning of great things. It's built upon our previous aging summits that we have done since 1998 to really focus on shaping our community to be a great place for vital and safe and healthy aging. And now, along with our county's 10-year plan for good health, this summit is about an intergenerational approach to building better health. It's really about a healthy community for all ages. So we have a full house, and we're getting everybody in. We have 100 vendors here, and people are coming. But what's very exciting is we are not only here at the Town and Country, as Barbara mentioned, we have 4 satellite sites at the Ronald Reagan Center in El Cajon, Chula Vista Middle School in South Bay, the Escondido Center for the Performing Arts, and the Carlsbad Resort and Spa in the Sheraton Carlsbad Resort and Spa, all with full houses and all with kind of mini conferences going on. So we will all be, we're webcasting this morning. We have a lineup of spectacular speakers. We're going to be webcasting that to all of the sites, and then at the end of the morning, we'll close out. We all have another couple hours for lunch and then to start planning to move forward to act on what we've learned this morning. And locally, each of the sites will be doing that as well. In all, we have over 3,000 people participating today. And it's really about two themes. It's about building better health and about intergenerational approaches to building better health. How do we bring the generations together to make this a healthy community? So I'm very, very pleased to introduce our first speaker, Supervisor Diane Jacob from District 2, our East County. Supervisor Jacob is one of the original sponsors for our Aging Summits. In fact, they were her idea. And the thought that we really come together and learn and think and talk and plan and, very importantly, act. You know, the saying about the best way to predict the future is to create it, and that's what this is about. So I really, really appreciate Diane's support. She has not missed an event. She is so supportive. She is leading an effort to help this community be the healthiest San Diego possible, and has such a personal commitment and is such a role model for all of us. And very importantly, she has supported all of the action recommendations that have come out of the summits and really help us implement those things. So I am very pleased to introduce County Board of Supervisors Diane Jacob.
Thank you, Pam, and what a great leader you are and will continue to be for the County of San Diego and for all of us. Could you join me in giving her a big round of applause? I love being here with all of you. I love growing older with all of you because I feel that I'm in really, really good company, right? Now, Pam reminded me just a minute ago, you know, her son is Alex Smith, who's quarterback for the 49ers. But she reminded me earlier, getting everybody together early for this session this morning is kind of like starting an NFL game, getting all the tailgaters into the room so that they could be there for the kickoff. They're still coming, but they're still tailgating out there, I can tell. So what does living well mean to you? I want you to think about that this morning. To me, it's being married to the same man for over 50 years. It's having a wonderful and a talented son. Family, to me, is very, very important. It's also being able to have a job that challenges me, and boy, am I challenged. It's having picture-perfect weather and then being able to golf on the weekends. And then finally, what it means to me is it's all about helping people and helping make our communities a better place. And to do that, it's up to all of you. So whatever living well means to you, it's a lot harder if you're sick, if you're depressed, or if you're isolated. Our county wants everybody in the county to live life to the fullest extent. We want to be America's healthiest community, and that's why we created the Live Well San Diego Initiative. It's a 10-year plan to build a healthier, safe, and thriving region. Now for the math lesson, the 3-4-50. Raise your hand if you know or you've heard what 3-4-50 means. What? I don't see very many hands out there. Well, I'm going to tell you. Studies show us, and this is what started the Live Well San Diego program, because studies show us that there are 3 behaviors that can get in the way of reaching our potential: smoking, poor diet, and lack of exercise. Now, at the end of the day today, there's going to be a test. And the test will be, what are those three things? Remember, smoking, poor diet, and lack of exercise. Now, what do these three behaviors mean if you're doing all these nasty things? Well, they lead to 4 nasty diseases. You can probably guess. Type 2 diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and lung disease. And these 4 diseases are responsible for about 57% of the deaths in San Diego County alone. So that's why we're going to do something about it. And we want to educate you first and help you and create an environment where you can thrive and be healthier. And it's pretty simple, because if you think about type 2 diabetes and cancer and heart disease and lung disease, we know that you're here and you care because you're here about doing something about it. So it's pretty simple, isn't it? First of all, don't smoke. And if you are smoking, I've heard from smokers that it's difficult to stop, but try to stop. So no smoking, that's number 1. Get out and exercise. You're going to hear a little bit more about that today with some of the speakers. Exercise, walking, say at least 30 minutes a day. And then eat right. Lots of fruits and vegetables. The county has made a commitment to working with all of you and trying to create an environment so that it's easier for you to do these kinds of things. We can't make you do it, nor do we want to make you do it. But what our responsibility is as a government agency is to create that environment that will entice you into not smoking, eating right, and getting out and exercise. So what have we done so far? We're making it easier for farmers markets. And I think you're seeing more and more farmers markets where you can buy healthy foods, organic foods. We're doing a farm-to-school program which brings fresh produce to our schools too. Because after all, our children in the schools, that's where they first learn, besides home, is how to eat right. And then we have what's called the More on Menu program that provides fresh fruits and vegetables to our neediest homebound seniors. And then our Safe Routes to School program, which encourages children to walk to school or bike to school. In other words, increasing their activity. And I have to say I'm really proud of our county employees because they have stepped up too, literally, to improving their own health. Many county workers participated in what's called a 10,000-step walking campaign. You can do that too. I know my staff participated. I participated myself in that. We didn't win the prize, but we got out there and met the challenge. And then some county workers are a part of what's called bike to work groups. They actually ride their bicycles to work. Great exercise. And we're replacing those sugary snacks and those soft drinks in our county cafeterias, and we're replacing those with healthier ones. Our county also regularly provides health tips on our employee website, and our employees tell us that they are taking these positive health messages home and making healthier choices at the dinner table. You see, we have about 16,000 employees in the county of San Diego. And if we can educate our employees as leaders in the community, and they take that home and teach their children and their families, it spreads. It's like networking. Later today, you're going to be in your separate regions, and you'll have an opportunity to see the health problems that are facing your community, your region, the most. As you learn about these problems, I would like you to think about ways that you can participate in solutions, how you can be involved. What can you do to improve your own health choices and those of your family? What can you do to raise the health awareness of your neighbors? The summit will also help you and ask you to think about ways young people and older adults can be joined together to improve the health. That must mean my time's up? No? Adjusting the sound, it is pretty loud. It sounds like it's getting better. Anyway, we want you to think about how young people and then some of our veteran citizens can work together and teach each other and learn from each other in improving the health in our communities. This morning, I just want to leave you with a challenge, not just the test that you'll be taking later, but with a challenge. Is there a role that you can play to make this happen? If you're a taxpayer, the Live Well San Diego initiative is important to you. In San Diego County alone, the 4 diseases I mentioned earlier cost us about $4 billion in direct treatment costs. $4 billion in our county alone. Think of what that would mean in the state of California and nationwide. If you're a parent, this initiative is important to you. In our county alone, 30% of children in the 5th, 7th, and 9th grades are overweight or obese. One study found that 80% of children who were overweight at ages 10 and 15 were obese by age 25 and at increased risk for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes. And you know from my earlier comments where that leads. If you're an adult, this initiative is important to you. More than 50% of adults are overweight or obese. Regarding smoking, there's good news here. In 1990, 20% of adults smoked. Now it's down to 12%. That's still 12% too many. We're going in the right direction, but the cost in lives and the cost in dollars is still too high. So Live Well San Diego is a call to action, and that's what today is all about. All of our county departments, all of our county employees are making big steps to improve the health and well-being of our county government, but also our communities. And we hope that you will take up this call to action today as you learn more about the health issues and consider how can we involve all ages in the solutions. With that, I would like to introduce to you Nancy Henkin. Nancy is a pioneer in the art of creating programs that bring youth and older adults together. In many communities, intergenerational programming is a new concept, but she has been doing this important work for 30 years. She's the executive director of the Intergenerational Center at Temple University, which last year received the first ever Eisner Prize for Intergenerational Excellence. Please welcome with me Nancy Henkin.
My coworkers here. Thank you so much, Diane. It is really amazing what San Diego is doing. You are truly leaders, both in the promotion of health and in intergenerational work. Let's give you all a round of applause. And Diane, thank you for sharing all that. You know, I was here about 12 years ago speaking at a smaller conference for Aging and Independent Services, and Pam had me speak about intergenerational work, and then she put me in this tiny little room for a workshop because she really didn't think that anyone was going to be interested in intergenerational work. Well, lo and behold, people were hanging from the rafters. Everyone was so excited, and the next thing I know, there's an intergenerational coordinator. There are all these wonderful intergenerational programs all over San Diego, and county officials are infusing this way of thinking into something like Live Well San Diego. So you guys really are leaders in the field. I want to start by saying good morning, Central and North Central. No, yeah, I'm going to say good morning to you. You need to say good morning to me. Good morning, Central and North Central. Good morning, East Region, wherever you are. Yes. Good morning, North Inland. Good morning, North Coastal. And good morning, South Region. I wish I could see you all, but at this point, I only see the people in front of me. So I'm glad to be here and thrilled that you're addressing this issue in such an intentional way. Now let's see, I have a little button here. Is that going on? Yes, okay. I'm also a little technologically challenged. So why now? Why are we talking about looking at health across the lifespan and the importance of bringing generations together to create healthy communities for all ages? I think there are a number of reasons, and the first is major demographic changes. As many of you know, by 2030, the number of people over 60 and under 18 are going to be about the same, about 22% of the population. And this reflects a doubling of the population of people 65 plus. What's this going to mean for our health and social services system? What's it going to mean for age relations and for caregiving in families? There are going to be many more older people who, especially the old, who may need services and support as they try to maintain their independence in communities. But at the same time, there'll be many more people like me and many here who are baby boomers, who are trying to figure out, what's this next stage of life? Who am I? Should I continue working? How can I be productive? How can I contribute to my community? There's a concept called generativity. It's about sharing your skills and experiences with younger generations. And Erik Erikson, a psychologist, once said, "I am what survives of me." So in communities, we have to figure out, how do we create those opportunities for people in their later years to share those experiences, to be resources to those who haven't been where they have. We also know that there are many challenges facing young people today. Many are not learning the skills they need to further their education or transition into the workforce. They often lack enough caring adults that help them navigate that treacherous course from adolescence to adulthood. And you know, many of them get really stuck and overwhelmed by challenges at a point in time. They don't have a broad life perspective, and they haven't learned what many of us have learned, that this too shall pass. And it's that ability to be resilient and to overcome adversity that's so crucial to us throughout our lives. So in addition to the aging revolution, we have a racial and ethnic diversity changes. The racial gap is actually becoming the generation gap. Today, approximately 80% of the older adult population is white, and by 2030, the majority of the younger generation is going to be minority, African American, Latino, Asian, and Native American. And in many places like California, this is already the case. This major demographic shift provides wonderful opportunities to develop new alliances and develop strong social capital. But if it's not harnessed well, it could exacerbate competition for resources and create tension. You know, most communities are just not prepared to live in a multi-generational and multicultural world. A second driver for creating a community for all ages that's healthy is the weakening of the social compact. The social compact is the debt we owe the past and the obligations we have the future. It's a basis for policies like Social Security and investment in public education, and acknowledges at a fundamental level that we're all in this together. I grew up in Connecticut, about 20 minutes from my grandparents, and I watched my parents care for my grandparents, and I was there with them. And I knew that when my parents grew older, I would care for them, and I have. And my hope is that my children will care for me when the time comes. But with increasing geographic mobility, with changes in divorce rates and remarriage, it's confusing. Whose responsibility is it to care for whom? A recent study by Generations United found that 51.4 Americans are living in multi-generational households, some by choice, some by necessity. And families shoulder the burden for most of the caregiving of their members. And whether it's grandparents raising grandchildren, older adults caring for adults with developmental disabilities, adults caring for both their aging parents and their children, or young parents caring for children with special needs, families need support. And we need to figure out how to help families navigate complex systems and deal with the stress that is part of caregiving. But beyond families, we also need to restore the social compact in communities and create places that are characterized by interdependence and reciprocity. You know, somehow in our world, we focus on independence. It's okay to be dependent when you're a little baby, but as you move through life, the stress is on become independent, get on your own, be out there by yourself. And the truth is, we can't live like that. In fact, at every stage of life, we have to be interdependent. We have to really be able to trust each other and depend on each other. And in our age-segregated communities, where children go to school here, older adults are here, people work here, there aren't as many opportunities to develop the kind of intergenerational connections that are so important. And it's hard for people to find that they actually have more in common than they're different. And so how can we expect older people to invest in public education if they've never been inside today's school, if they don't talk to children who are not their own or their grandchildren? And how can we expect young people to think about the importance of Social Security if they've never really gotten to know and understand the issues facing older adults? A third reason, whoops, I went backwards. A third reason for creating a community for all ages relates to our siloed approach to problem solving. You know, there are a lot of problems in our community, and we have lots and lots of challenges. And there are lots and lots of health and human service organizations who are out there trying to survive. They provide wonderful services, but they're competing with each other. And there's tremendous anxiety about survival. We need to get out of these silos. It's not about each of these silos working independently, particularly around health. It's about organizations coming together, crossing boundaries, sharing resources, sharing power, and thinking about this idea of collective impact, that if we all work together, we'll be able to really have an impact on an issue like health. And this shows in competition for scarce resources. Rather than competing for each other, we have to create common agendas in communities and work together for long-term change. So all of these factors provide us an opportunity right now to think and act differently for the common good. And health is the perfect issue to address with this perspective. Because as we know, health is an issue for every age. As Diane was saying, chronic diseases like diabetes and obesity are developing at younger ages and are risk factors for other diseases in later life, like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Clearly, it's better to focus on prevention rather than treatment of a disease. But unfortunately, strategies that prevent disease and promote healthcare and health promotion are underfunded. For every dollar spent on healthcare, less than 4 cents goes to prevention programs. And what's health? How do we define health? It's not just the absence of disease or infirmity. Health is the complete physical, mental, and social well-being, according to the World Health Association. It's important to think about health not as what the doctors can do for us, but as something that starts in our families, in our schools, in our workplaces, in our parks, and our playgrounds. And there are multiple factors that contribute to health. As you can see in this diagram, individual lifestyles, family patterns, conditions in communities, they all interact with our own genetics to create either health and resilience, or disease and disability. The food we eat, the chemicals we're exposed to, the natural and built environment, and the stress that comes from loss of a job, from caregiving, from poor housing, and the degree that we're connected to each other, they all impact health. And we can't take our health for granted. You know, in the blink of an eye, you can go from someone who's healthy to someone who has an illness, for someone who's able-bodied to someone who's disabled. I know that because I'm a cancer survivor. And 9 years ago, I didn't think about health because I was healthy. It didn't occur to me to start really focusing on this because I had never had, any challenges in health. And now I know that we can't always prevent health things from happening, health calamities, but we can be resilient. And it's communities that need to really help people to be resilient at all stages of life. Well, place matters. It's not just about our personal choices about health and the decisions we make about what we eat. It's also about our ability to access good food, our ability to live in clean environments. And it's important to understand that these things really impact the way we can live and our ability to be healthy. Health suffers when children live in buildings that are filled with mold and lead. They breathe healthy air. Health suffers when we drink contaminated water and we have poor access to grocery stores that can sell fresh foods. Obesity rates are higher when we don't have safe places to play or to walk or to exercise. And mental health suffers when people feel isolated and alone. So all these issues are interconnected, they're interrelated, and we can't address them alone. We can't address them as individuals, and we can't address them as children's groups, older adult groups, environmental groups. Generations live side by side in communities, and all ages need to be involved in coming up with solutions for the challenges that we face. So what will it take to build a community for all ages, a healthy place that empowers and supports people across the lifespan? Well, in addition to high quality integrated services, here are a few things. One is we need to listen to the voices of the residents who live in our communities. We have to truly understand not only the problems that they experience, but the assets that they bring. This will help us not only in the beginning, but as we go through Live Well San Diego. At all points in time, we have to constantly be working with people who live in these communities. And it's important because we also have to develop interventions that are age and culturally appropriate. Recently, a colleague of mine was out in Minneapolis doing a focus group with Somali elders. And she asked, "What's healthy aging? What's important to you as you age?" And one woman said, "Healthy aging is the success of my grandchildren." So what does that say about how to deliver services, how to support health? It means that you focus on the family, not on individuals, that we think about the collective rather than the individual. And this is going to really impact how we support people in different communities. It will also take collaboration. I told you I was technologically challenged. It will also take more collaboration. We have to start building authentic partnerships between unlikely allies and between organizations and residents. This can be difficult. It can be difficult for organizations who have different constituencies, who deal with turf issues, who want power, to come together to figure out a common agenda. It's also often hard for organizations to engage residents as true partners and not just as clients. But we need to all come together, all the stakeholders and communities, to figure out what's our vision of a healthy community in this place. How do we work together? How do we share resources? And how do we find a direction to go in? Healthy communities will also require opportunities for contribution. We know that lifelong civic engagement is a key element in health and in community building. People of all ages want a sense of purpose and meaning. They want to feel that they're needed and they have something to give back. So it's important to create a range of roles in a community that can promote positive mental health as well as meet real needs. In this case, this is a man in a Chinese senior center in Philadelphia. And what's important to him is transmitting his culture. It's important to him to teach calligraphy. And so he's teaching a young college student how to do calligraphy, and it has really enhanced his self-esteem tremendously. This is my dad, who is 94, his macular degeneration, almost blind. He's cognitively impaired and has a host of health problems. But 3 days a week, We have a student from Temple who comes and is a respite worker for him. He lives in assisted living, but I work part-time. I work full-time, not part-time, and I need help. When he was in the hospital last year, she came to the hospital and relieved me when I couldn't be there. And the relationship that they formed is incredible. It's not just about her being there. It's about him having someone to talk to. It's about her learning about aging. And it's about them developing something that's meaningful for both of them. And building healthy communities also means fostering a sense of connectedness. It's those mutually supportive relationships that can serve as protective factors for us as we go through life. You know, the degree of social connectedness impacts one's health and one's ability to deal with stress. People need others they can trust, and they need others who they can depend on. And it's this social capital that really is the glue that holds communities together. Finally, healthy communities involve collective action. We need to empower individuals and families to leverage their collective power and to create long-term change. We need to bring generations together to advocate for changes in healthy lunches for schools, public transportation, reduction of exposure to chemicals, and sidewalks that are good for wheelchairs, strollers, and bikes. Intergenerational advocacy, collective action is incredibly important as we move forward in building Live Well San Diego. So it's going to take all of these strategies, not one, all of them, to create health and to promote health across the lifespan. For the last 8 years, our center has helped communities across the country use these strategies to address a wide variety of issues: health, safety, education, immigrant reform. It's called Communities for All Ages, funded by the Kellogg Foundation. And we've intentionally not taken this as an age-friendly community approach or a child-friendly community approach. It's really about promoting the well-being of all generations in a place, and also of building the capacity of communities to use intergenerational strategies to address any issue. And what have we found? The outcomes have been terrific, and I just want to tell you a little bit more about some of the places. This is East Jerusalem neighborhood in East Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Anyone know where that is? Oh, a couple of people. It's on the Gulf. Very poor community, no grocery store. There are lots of older people there who are isolated, many grandparents raising grandkids. There's not a school in the area. And lots going on. What they did there is they decided to develop a farmer's market. But it wasn't just a farmer's market. It was a farmer's market that also had college students from the neighboring university come and give health screenings every week. They have jumpers and playgrounds for kids. They have teenagers who run the market. They have an older adult who mentors the teenagers in running the market. And they're starting a bike co-op so that kids can contribute to the garden and the farmer's market in return for new pedals. And they're just starting they built a new kitchen in an abandoned school building, and they're starting freeze drying now. It's incredible what's happening when you start and think about outcomes for all generations and including all generations. Here's Westchester, New York, where they're doing walking clubs, and different groups are coming together, the Y and the older adults and schools, all coming together to make sure there's increased knowledge about nutritious eating and opportunities to walk. This is in Ajo, Arizona, where we've seen that intergenerational work can be an entry point to bridging the racial divide and the cultural divide. And here they use arts to bring different generations together and to bring different cultures together. This is happening also in places like Portchester, New York, where there's a growing tension between a young Hispanic population and an older white population, and the churches have come together to start looking at how they can bridge these divides. In all our places, there's resident leadership training, and this is key to building communities. We need to build the capacity of residents to take the lead, residents to be leaders in their community. We need to empower people. And then we need to create gathering places. And what we've seen in all of our communities is that these gathering places are so critical. And here is in Ajo, they took an abandoned school building and made it into a live-work center for artists of all ages. And they created a multi-generational learning center where they use the arts to connect people. It's all about many hands working together to promote health. And it's about the recognition of our shared fate. And I love this quote because we are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. We're not separate. The fact is that our destinies are inextricably linked, and what happens to each of us affects all of us. So I'd like to show you a quick video of our New Rochelle site because I think seeing something is so much important than just hearing it from a speaker. So let's put on the video.
New Rochelle is a diverse city.
We have people of different income brackets, we have different ethnicities, different religions, different cultures.
The city is in transformation. Politically, economically, and socially, there are many things happening. This is a time to embrace change, to embrace difference, and to grow collaborative relationships between generations. Imagine a community in which the wisdom of the different generations are harnessed to care for and grow the community. Imagine a community that functions in that way. That would be a community for all ages.
I'll be waiting.
This is the block. This is where, as a kid, I would come and play and hang out and meet friends. I have a lot of family members that live in the building right across the street in the Carrington Arms. I have a lot of family members there. I have an uncle and family members that live across the street in those buildings over there. And I have family that live in the senior citizen housing right over here. So I have a stake in this particular community. I decided that I wanted to try to make a difference by trying to harness the vitality of the city of New Rochelle in the Lincoln Avenue corridor. What impressed me about the idea of Community for All Ages and the strategy of Community for All Ages was that it was a strategy that went across all generations. One of the things that we wanted to be able to do was to bring both the senior citizens, the churches, and the community center and Head Start together to use these resources to be places in which Community for All Ages can be used as a strategy to bring about a more vibrant community life. It used to be a time when you would see seniors with adults, you see adults with kids, you see seniors with kids. I'd like to see that happen again.
I know that in our society somehow you want to be young, you got to be thin. When you have been blessed to be a senior, don't deny it, embrace it. There's nothing wrong with it. I can jump double dutcher better than any young person in this room today. I'm willing to bet that.
My name is Dorothy Almeida Oliver. I'm 78 years of age. I feel like the fellas used to tell us when we were teenagers, age is nothing but a number. I agree with them now. It's nothing but a number. I have to be active now. I don't have a choice, and the choice is it's selfish. I'm trying to ward off Alzheimer's and all that kind of stuff. So I feel that if I'm active, that's going to help.
At first, Community for All Ages was a new concept to me. I didn't really understand what it was. I didn't understand intergenerational divide as well as I do now. And they had a leadership training class which I participated in and which was very beneficial for me. As a city council person, there's often a disconnect between the city government and the people, but I was really able to learn from them and learn what they think and learn what their hopes are.
I've always wanted to climb a mountain. Haven't done it yet, but I want to do it. So that's one of my goals eventually in this life, is to do that. The most important thing for me is to learn how to be able to reach out to other people. Whatever their needs are, how can I help?
By having different generations working together in one room, that actually creates an environment where lifelong learning and civic engagement would bring more cohesiveness to this community.
A lot of our graduates of our Leadership Academy, we're looking to and thinking about purchasing a plot and being engaged around programming around the garden. What we've learned actually from Community for All Ages National Office is that community garden is an effective strategy for bringing different generations together. The gathering of men is inclusive of youth from the ages of 17, 16, all the way up to men up to around 75, 80 years of age. They want to go through the Leadership Academy to help define the changes that they want to be able to make as a community.
They're bringing us in one room where we can actually have a conversation and actually, I guess, mend the fences that were broken or that were forgotten.
My thinking shifted significantly on a lot of different respects. I realized that I'm older than I thought I was. I like to think I was 32, I'm young, there's nobody younger than me, but there really is a new population of people out there who are younger, who think differently, who have different needs.
I always feel like I'm an equal. I'm not looked down upon, you know, I don't feel like they're gonna laugh at what I have to say. You know, I think they really listen and they really take it into account.
We did focus groups and we worked with the youth really. We held one at the high school to talk to kids our age and bring it to the Communities for All Ages meetings and tell them about what we found.
This is an investment. Before you can conquer the world, you have to actually understand it. And understanding it is by actually having a hands-on interaction with your community.
It can foster youngsters to start looking at their community in different ways, ways that they hadn't thought about or could see prior to taking this course. It could open up roads.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I'm extremely impressed with actually what's going on here and where we started and where we are right now. The Community for All Ages is doing a lot of things. They have a lot of initiatives going forward, and it's just growing. I think they're still in the beginning stages when they're waiting to make an impact, but it's growing day by day, month by month.
What we want to begin to do is to sort of re-engineer and create a culture of both space and policy and programming that allows for intergenerational work to flourish. That's what we're looking for.
We don't have to go to 360 degrees. Now it's time we go the 180. You don't have to climb the highest mountains, for all you're looking for is within you. Open the eyes of your mind, your ears and mouth. As I...
Great. Well, I think that exemplifies all the strategies I was talking about building healthy communities for all ages. And you know what? New Rochelle started way further away than you are right now. They have a lot of challenges and they're just beginning, and this idea is catching on because people across ages and cultures are working together to make sure that New Rochelle is a good place for growing up and for growing older. You in San Diego have already done so much. So there's very little advice I can give, but I would like to share just a couple of thoughts about where you can go from here because you have so much going on. In some ways, it's about connecting the dots in a place. I heard Diane speak, and I've read your reports, and there are farmers markets, there are community gardens, and there are services, and there are lots of things. I think the time has come, though, and I think this is the beginning of that, to focus on smaller places, to focus on neighborhoods, on small towns, on the incorporated communities, and to really figure out how do you engage everybody across age and culture in that town? How do you bring the organizations together? And how do you really have a collective impact on health? And this is going to require a culture change, because it's going to require people to think about us, not my organization or not me. I also encourage you to go deeper and broaden resident engagement. There are many people on the table now, but are you including people from immigrant and refugee communities, kinship caregivers, youth who have dropped out of school, a whole range of people who aren't normally at the table? I encourage you to deepen and expand your partnerships. There are lots of universities around who can be tremendous resources and partners in doing this work. There are faith-based institutions, arts organizations, lots of different people who aren't normally at the table. Reach out to them, include them, and the impact's going to be greater. And finally, I'm excited that we're going to be replicating a couple of our programs from Temple here, our SHINE program, which is a health literacy program with older immigrants, and our 5 and Fit program, which is an early childhood obesity prevention program. So we will continue to work with you and to help you kind of build upon all the wonderful work you've done. You've really been on the cutting edge of this work, and I have no doubt that major changes in terms of health outcomes will result as a result of the incredible work you're doing. You know, many people just see what is, not what can be. That's not true for San Diego. You've created a compelling, strong vision for healthy communities, and you're well along the way on your journey. So you're leading the way for the nation and for the world. And you're showing people that when people come together, generations and cultures, they can create good places for everybody. And they can create health, not only for today's generations, for the generations to come. I'm a grandmother now of 2 little girls, and I think about my health, but you know what? My most important concern is the health of my grandchildren, and I know many of you are there with me. So thank you for inviting me today. I wish you luck. I congratulate you on all the work you've done, and I look forward to working with you and watching what happens in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I think you see the kind of national leadership that Nancy and her team have provided, and they have helped us so much. But what is exciting is we already are on this path. And I want to take just a few minutes at this point to talk about some of the things we've done when we, again, think about intergenerational and what are the things, and how does that relate to health? You know, Maggie Kuhn, do you know who Maggie Kuhn is? She was the co-founder in 1970 of the Gray Panthers. She was a woman far ahead of her time. She was both a visionary and a role model for youth and old, attesting to the potential for strength, worthy, and beauty in our later lives. In 1970, she co-founded the Gray Panthers after a long, productive stint in the staffs of the YMCA of the National Office and United Presbyterian Church. Finding herself forcibly retired, bereft of her accustomed role and a sense of meaning in life, she really transformed herself into a brilliant, feisty, outspoken activist. Nicknamed America's Wrinkled Radical, she unflinchingly challenged the powers that be, from the U.S. Senate to the National American Medical Association. She could be found espousing her views about liberation of aging on everything from the evening news to Saturday Night Live. She passed away in '95 at the age of 89. But in an interview in 1978, she reflected on aging and the role of older adults in our society. When asked if there were any advantages to living a long life, she responded, and I quote, "I guess that when I think about it, there are 3 things in particular that I like about getting old. First, you can speak your mind, as I certainly try to do. But you have to do your homework first. Otherwise, you'll be dismissed as a doddering old fool. The second thing I've liked about getting old is that I have successfully outlived a great deal of my opposition. Many of the people who were my detractors are just not around anymore. And then the third thing that I've especially liked about getting old is that it's really kind of a miracle to be able to tap into the incredible energy of youth while making use of the knowledge and expertise that comes from living a long, full life." When asked what she thought would be the best role for society's elders, one of the important things she called out was for older adults to be, and I quote, "educators of the young, by our example and by our reaching out and sharing what we know. The experience and skills of older people should be valued and utilized. As elders, we should see ourselves as being particularly responsive to the needs and questioning of our younger friends and family. When we are kept apart from those who live on after us, we deprive ourselves and we also deprive the young, and our society is correspondingly weaker because we have not lived together." And that's exactly what we are trying to approach here. You know, we have become kind of age segregated in our community. Intergenerational things used to occur a little more naturally. Our whole effort here is to be more purposeful with it, to really understand the value. Sometimes we're like parallel lines out there in our community by age, and you know, those parallel lines don't cross. This effort is about crossing and bringing them together. That wisdom and knowledge from living a long, full life, and the energy and enthusiasm of youth to come together, and in this, to really generate and be healthier. Along with that, in a recent survey of over 1,200 older Americans, it was conducted regarding the practical advice they had for younger people regarding health. It was especially interesting to hear what these people in their 70s, 80s, and beyond would propose that the young do about their health. It turns out that the elders indeed have a profound insight that can transform how we all should think about our health behaviors. In a nutshell, here's what they said. It's not dying you should worry about. It's chronic disease. That insight that we should motivate ourselves to healthy behaviors based on the threat of chronic disease and not of dying can be a powerful motivation for change. People who engage in a bad health habit often try to justify it by talking about dying. We may have all had friends or folks that are obese or smokers or non-exercisers who say, well, no one lives forever, and if it cuts a few years off my life, it's worth it to me. In fact, I've had some very close family members. An uncle of mine who was very close was a smoker who said the same thing. I love to smoke, so who cares if I drop dead a year or two earlier than I might have? But according to the wisdom of these older adults, that perspective is all wrong. Because older people know firsthand that the likely penalty for bad health habits isn't an early death. Instead, dying young is the least of the worries. What you are likely to be in for is years of chronic disease. Their view is crystal clear. Forget the comforting notion that smoking, overeating, and other lifestyles mean it's just going to live up and be, and drop dead one day. In fact, that almost never occurs. Instead of people sentencing themselves, instead they are sentencing themselves to an enormous burden of heart problems, lung problems, chronic pain, and disease. So it is this message and this lesson from our older adults that we're here to talk about. And that for people to really understand what it means by the choices and behaviors we're making that impact our health. And of course, what we are here today to do is talk about taking action for all of us to be healthier. I wanted to show you a few pictures of things and programs that we have going in San Diego County. And my first shot at the clicker. We've been doing a lot of good work. This is an intergenerational garden in San Marcos, the city of San Marcos. And it's, the city sponsors these garden plots, and we were able to coordinate with some of these older master gardeners and work with kids from the middle school that's right behind the fence of the garden. And in particularly, we worked with kids that were special needs and started putting them together to garden. And in this particular picture, the young boy in the front was in a wheelchair. So of course, those gentlemen said, well, we better build a raised garden for him. You know, gardens do much more than grow food. They grow people, they grow communities, and they teach us that nurturing our garden helps us nurture and respect ourselves, our communities, our neighbors, and the earth where we live. These are lessons that we have learned and stood the test of time and are very important in today's world as well. This has been a tremendous success. These pictures of our seniors and kids coming together. This master gardener told me that you would think when people come and garden from around the city, there'd be a lot of talking at the end of the day, but in fact, people kind of went to their own plot, and there wasn't much talking until they brought the kids in. And the kids came in and started going around, and the master gardeners would walk around and talk to them and ask what they were growing, and it brought life to that whole community. I think when you look at this picture, you know, you just see that what's going on between those generations. Because, you know, it's those other rich dialogues that take place as well. Those resiliency lessons that Nancy talked about, that master gardener is passing on to that young boy. We have intergenerational games. We launched these at our Olympic Training Center in South Bay a few years ago, and we've replicated them in several places around. And very simply, we bring older adults together with kids for a day to learn how to be more physically active, what kinds of things they need to do, and how to eat more nutritiously. And we do it in a fun, interactive way, and we present medals. And honestly, they come together, and we talk about how these kids are going to make new friends. And at first, you see them kind of come together, and they haven't thought about making a friend with an older adult. And you see those older adults reaching out and helping them. And by the end of the day, there's a warm relationship that has grown out of this. We put together intergenerational dance classes, just coming together. And this is done at one of our local libraries in South Bay. And they decided to name themselves the Generations of Crazy Feet. And we partnered older adults with one of an elementary school. And of course, then the elementary school had new friends and recruited seniors in to come and be part of their school community. And they built it around being physically active together. We have brought older adults together with youth to do resident leadership academies. This is a project in La Mesa where we brought older adults with teenage kids to learn about the importance of place and how important that is in our health. If we're going to get out and walk, we have to have sidewalks that are safe and well lit. We have to have parks that are there. Well, this is a stretch between the high school and middle school, and as you can see, that's not very conducive to getting out and walking. There's no sidewalk. Visually, you can't see very well. Well, our seniors and our seniors taught the kids advocacy. They went out and looked at this stretch in this old community, and they then put together a plan to improve it. And they presented to the city council, to the school board, to the health district. They flew to Sacramento and presented to the legislature. The city of La Mesa then wrote a Safe Routes to School grant. They were awarded $500,000. And they went in and took this old stretch of area that people were not walking, whether it's young moms and babies and families or seniors who need to get out and walk or generations coming together. And we transformed from this to this. This is inviting to get out. You know, it's safer for pedestrians. People will get out. It just can't be okay. That's what Supervisor Jacob referenced, that from a policy perspective, we have to create things that make it easier for people to be healthy. And we have to come together and do that because this better neighborhood impacts all generations. This is one of the crosswalks, and you can see, you know, it's hazardous for falling. It's not well marked, so from a pedestrian safety, this is what it looks like now. And you know, it was just randomly that when we took the first picture, nobody was walking, and we went out just on a day after it was redone, and guess what? People are out walking and healthier. The more you can do that, the healthier you are. We have developed resident leadership academies around the county, doing much of what Nancy said, but we just got started. And this is in Lemon Grove. And there are where citizens came together and learned about how to create a healthier community and the importance of place and what to do about it, and went through this series. They did walk audits of their community, and they came up with recommendations and worked with their city leadership. And they actually were just awarded a $1 million grant from Kaiser to go in and implement some of the changes that this handful of citizens, of high school kids and adults and older adults, came together and said, we need change. It's very powerful to learn and come together. We mentioned breakfast in the classroom. We put older adults in many of the classrooms in some of our poorer neighborhoods and not only serve breakfast, but encourage those kids and seniors to eat healthy foods together and understand the importance of that. Safe routes to school, you know, how many in this room walked to school when they were young? Now, I would venture at all 5 of our sites, most of the hands went up, as it did here. When you ask parents today how many of their kids walk to school, they just don't. It's been a lot of things. The way we design our communities, are they safe? A lot of ways. We want to be able to, and safe is in there, create safe routes to school in our neighborhoods. And we have done this by, in some areas, incorporating older adults in those walking paths, in those walking ways. And everybody wins. The more older adults get out and walk, the more healthier they are, their legs are stronger, they're less likely to fall, you form those relationships. And ironically, you know, the more eyes we have out and people out, the safer our neighborhoods are. So how do we create these kind of opportunities where we can bring people together? I have a couple more to tell you. 5 and Fit. We are really pleased that we're launching 5 and Fit, which is one of the evidence-based programs from Temple University, where we are going to be working with older adults, helping kids 0 to 5 be fit. Their evidence shows that with this series of courses, that kids learn to be more active, to eat better. They shared that information with families. And of course, guess what? The teachers, the seniors, had to step up their game as well. So everybody won with it, and we brought the generations together. Oasis is a partner of ours, and they do a lot of intergenerational work, and they're here, and there's lots of information. They have a new, also evidence-based programs where older adults work with school-age kids after school to catch healthy habits. Because in the end, about health, it's about changing our behaviors and doing it together. And it's the same notion of older adults working with kids. You know, kids watch a lot of TV, they play a lot of video games, they don't walk to school. All of that adds up. We got to catch healthy habits, and this is a wonderful program. So it's tangible things. So as we think about these programs and what we want to do, and remember today is learning about this, but then we want to plan. We want to do more of these, and we want to look for other great ideas. And finally, one other program that we're also bringing from Temple University is an intergenerational program targeted for our immigrant and refugee population. And it is where we have college students really work with our older immigrant and refugee populations to be healthier, to understand our health system, to navigate. And in fact, the whole thing builds around even them learning English and learning to be healthier with that. So it is about not leaving anyone behind. It is about across all cultures, as Nancy talked about, those kinds of sensitivities, but it's certainly about all ages. And one of the things I want to, and I just hope that jumpstarts your thinking about some of the things that we can do. But I also want to say at our sites, we try to be very inclusive, and we have multiple languages here, and if anybody is or sees someone that might be struggling with understanding, we have interpretive services with the earphones. They can pick up equipment and everything will be translated. We have deaf interpreters for the hearing impaired. We're really trying to reach across all populations. So we've got a lot of exciting groundwork done. We're proud of the work we've done, and I'm really pleased to introduce, if there's been 2 organizations and frankly 2 people that have helped us the most and been the biggest inspirations, it's Nancy Hankin and it's our next speaker, which is Donna Butts. Donna Butts is the Executive Director of Generations United. They are the national organization focused solely on improving the lives of children, youth, and older people. And they work on strong advocacy programs. They're housed in Washington, D.C., and they try to get this on the radar screen of our policymakers. So Donna, I really appreciate that you came from Washington, D.C. to share a brief insight about a new award that they launched last year. So Donna Butts.
Woo! Good morning, San Diego. Is that a little too close? To all of you here, to all of you around the county, let's do it again. Good morning, San Diego. Now, I don't sit still very well. I don't know about you folks, but I thought that one thing that might be fun as we got started this morning, I'm only with you for a few minutes, but it's something that actually Nancy and I learned at an event we were at once. Now, everybody's got a couple of hands, right? So you can put them together. So let's go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And let's add it. Intergenerational, 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 intergenerational. San Diego, yay! One of the reasons that I am so delighted to be here is it's just a real honor to be in one of America's best intergenerational communities. San Diego County has done an absolutely terrific job under the leadership of Pam Smith, her team, the Board of Supervisors, and all of you. So I want you to take just a second and pat somebody on the back who's sitting next to you and say, good job, we'll do more. Pat those backs. Good job, we'll do more. And all of you out there, I know you can do it too. To build a community for all ages and a best intergenerational community takes a commitment and it takes tenacity. San Diego County is a model intergenerational community. And all of us at Generations United and around the country salute what you've done here. Our role is to build and promote and support programs and policies that value all generations. And because of that, it really made sense that with the support of the MetLife Foundation, that we work with a group of national experts to come up with the criteria for what makes a good intergenerational community. And then once we had that criteria, to find a great group of blue ribbon judges to look at the entrance and to help us decide which are the five best intergenerational communities in America. It really makes sense because it really helped to then heighten the importance of engaging all generations in other communities. It really promotes the role of intergenerational solidarity and the role that plays in building strong, stable, and economically sound communities. Because this work isn't just about nice. It's about our economy, it's about meeting needs in communities, and it's about engaging the strengths of all generations, as Nancy and Pam have expressed so well. So what are the criteria for best intergenerational community? There are 3. One is that it provides for the safety, health, education, and basic necessity of all generations. It promotes programs, policies, and practices that encourage cooperation, interaction, and exchange between all generations. And 3, it enables all ages to share their talents, resources, and benefit individuals as well as the community. It really makes sense because you're engaging the bookends in your community, young and old, and they hold together that middle. That's what makes our civil society. What we found in the applications were really compelling stories, innovative teams addressing really critical issues in communities, but doing that with compassion and with a vibrant energy and vision for what a community can be. And nobody embodied that more than what makes a best intergenerational community than San Diego County. For over 11 years, you've really led the country. You've been an incredible example by the devotion, the commitment that everyone has made to engaging people of all ages. You've done that through hiring an intergenerational coordinator and keeping that position actively engaging people across the community. You've tackled tough issues, and you've remembered the importance of playing together. I was here a couple years ago when the intergenerational games were underway, and that was when I had one of those aha moments when all of a sudden I realized that I was the elder in the team. And we had a great time. It was really a fun, fun day. So the best intergenerational communities really use the gifts and talents of all ages. Engaging people of all ages makes sense, and it's really up to all of us to do that. So we at Generations United were thrilled when we were able to honor San Diego County along with 4 other communities a little bit earlier this year. And what I wanted to do, since I couldn't bring the team that held the flag last time, was ask Pam Smith and Supervisor Jacobs to come up, and we can show you what the flag looks like.
Let's see.
So people can see it. I couldn't bring the president of the MetLife Foundation, or Juan Williams, who's a special advisor that helped present the flag to Pam originally, but really I hope that you'll all take great pride in what you've accomplished, and more so, what you're going to accomplish together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we really appreciate coming out. And I think that's something to be say, this is a national perspective, and we're really leading the way here. It is really about making great community and being very action-oriented. So I think we have a lot to be proud of, but we've got a lot of work to do. So I'm really, really pleased to introduce our next speaker as well. You know, one of the big, huge influences in San Diego County is our military. We have, I believe, the largest military presence of anywhere in the world. And we also have one of the largest veteran populations of anywhere in the world. And I think we all know, many in this room are veterans, maybe have family in the military. And I think any kind of big thinking and big planning we do, we want to make sure that our military family is at the table as well. So our next speaker is representing our military population. Going to talk to us about some of the work they're doing on health and the whole notion of moving forward with intergenerational. This is Dr. Sunny Ramchandani. Did I get that right? Dr. Ramchandani earned his master's degree in public health at Harvard and his MD at Yale. He's the medical director of healthcare businesses at the Navy Medical Center here in San Diego. In his role, he's led efforts on his integrated health community. He's going to tell us about that a little bit, because it is about us trying in a lot of ways, improving our systems to be more healthy. He has been a great partner of ours. He's worked strongly, he has a national perspective, and really helping change the way the military is approaching health. So we really want to learn more. I appreciate you being here. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ramchandani.
Great, excellent. Well, good morning. Thanks for giving me some time here today. Thanks to Pam, thanks to Nick, thanks to Supervisor Jacob and everyone else, and thanks to our leadership in the Navy medical system. I'm going to move forward to the first slide, if we could. Oops, we'll go back one. There we go. All right, so let's talk a little bit today about integrating healthcare and health and moving to Live Well San Diego, getting to health and moving to an intergenerational approach. How do we get everybody healthy in this community? And we saw some phenomenal pictures from Pam showing us about some of the things that they're doing all around this county. So maybe for a second, we'll just give you a little quick brief. We're going to talk a little bit about what this integrated health community is. We'll talk a little bit about the first phase of that, and then get to an intergenerational call for action. So first step, let's play Did You Know? Did you know? Did you know that San Diego County has 3.1 million people? Maybe you knew that. Did you know that San Diego County, the place that you live, is bigger than 20 states in America? You have more people here than you do in 20 states in America. In this county, you're bigger than Alaska, Vermont, Wyoming combined. You're that big. You might have you've heard of a guy before. He's pretty famous in the 1990s. His name was Bill Clinton. He was our president. He came from a state of Arkansas. Arkansas has 2.9 million people. We're bigger. We're diverse. We've got a number of exciting things going on here in San Diego. So we wanted to talk to you a little bit about what is this vibrant community? Who are the players here in this county where you live? So let's talk about that. Let's go down the employers. So actually the military, if you would know, is one of the biggest employers in your county. We've got Pendleton to the north. We've got a huge presence to the south. We've got clinics all over. We've got Miramar, North Island, you name it. We've got a lot of stuff here. We've got the San Diego Unified School District, UCSD, the county. A lot of these top employers of San Diego County are healthcare, are government, and Qualcomm's one of them too. But we've got a lot of potential here to maybe align healthcare systems with health. So let's not just give healthcare, i.e. the stuff that you go to the doctor for, but let's get you to health, the stuff that we're talking about all day. So now let's talk a little bit more about the military healthcare system. So here's the military in your county, in the place that you live. About 20% of anybody who gets health care in this county, we're paying for. The military is paying for. I bet a lot of you here in the audience have some connection to the military. Either you were in the military, you know someone in the military, or perhaps you're in the military yourself, have been in the military before, maybe a family member has. We're that connected here in the county. And here's some of our chronic disease prevalence just in our beneficiaries, in our military healthcare system. We've got hypertension, we've got diabetes, we've got depression. All the red targets are the same targets you have here in San Diego. The only one that's a little different is low back pain. We got a lot of that in the military. Maybe it's because we sit in planes and stuff, I don't know. But we've got a lot of that. But we're basically the same like you. We have older folks, we have both genders, we have younger folks. We're just like you. So how can we partner with you, the military presence, to create this kind of integrated health community? So I have a little comic up there. Have you ever seen this before? Does this really happen? You show up to the doctor and he says, you've got a rare condition called good health. Let's take a seat and we'll treat you. You ever see that before? Because, you know, healthcare is funny. We like to do stuff to people. Don't we? We do stuff. How many here really like to go to the doctor? I'm a doctor. Anyone really here like to come see me? No, yeah. You're all nice when you come to see me, but ask people if they really want to see me. They're like, no, I don't like going to the doctor. They stick me with needles. They do radiological tests to me, surgery pills. I hate it. So you don't want health care. I know it. You know how I know it? Because I don't want it either. I don't like health care. But you know what I like? Health. I like health. And so do you. You don't like going to the doctor. You like just being at home, doing what you want to do. So it's funny that we spend so much on health care, but we don't spend so much on health. Why is that? That's a little puzzling, isn't it? So let's talk a little bit about that in San Diego, about population health determinants. Okay, this is, again, let's bring it down to the county here. In the yellow is the health services. It's all the great stuff that Pam was talking about, Supervisor Jacob was talking about. It's where health services live. It's your gym. It's your nutrition center. It's your recreation center. It's your senior center. It's the stuff that you like to do. You know how much we spend on the yellow in San Diego County? About $2 billion. $2 billion. So now the blue is the healthcare systems. It's what we do in the Navy healthcare system. It's the VA, it's Kaiser, it's Sharp, it's Scripps, it's UCSD. You know how much we spend on the blue in San Diego County? $24 billion. That's billion with a B, not million, billion. That's a lot of money. A lot of money going into this county for healthcare. But remember what we asked ourselves. We said, you don't like healthcare. You like health. So let's give you health, all right? So the funny thing is how do you know about the yellow? Who tells you about the senior recreation center, the gym? Does anybody tell you, does the blue tell you about the yellow? It's kind of your families that are telling you about the yellow, right? It's maybe you went on the internet. Maybe someone's friend told you. Maybe it was a family member. Someone kind of told you about all these yellow services. Maybe they were there, maybe you used them, and they were kind of out there, right? So the vision of an integrated health community is to integrate the blue with the yellow, is to create a bridge between them. And here's why. Think of yourself as a young 15-year-old, okay? And you start to smoke. You start to smoke, you get influenced by the smokers, and you start to smoke, and you break through the yellow. Someone didn't teach you not to smoke, so you started smoking. You got to 30, 35, okay? Then your family said, stop smoking, but you didn't listen, okay? And then finally you got to age 65, and the science suggests that you will probably come see me as a doctor, and you will be in the blue. Let me go back to the blue real fast. You'll be in the blue circle. And that's what we don't want. We don't want you sitting in the blue because that's where we have system breakdown. A lot of systems failed, and you came and saw us in the blue. And now you have lung cancer. It's not good for you, not good for us, not good for anybody. So how do we create a bridge? We want to make a bridge between the blue and the yellow. We want to take you to get to the yellow, not the blue, because you don't like the blue. You hate the blue. Well, so we started scratching our heads a little bit. We started thinking to ourselves, how are we going to do this? Well, let's go to the first slide. Other countries have figured this out. They spend more on social services and health services on the things that we're talking about today than healthcare. Look at the Greens in Canada and Japan, UK. They spend more on social services. We spend more on healthcare. That's what we do. We spend more on the things that you told me you don't like, but we spend less on the other things. Something doesn't add up, right? So One more. Here we go. And you know what? The results show it. If you look at life expectancy, those guys are beating us. They're living longer, and they've got a lower infant mortality rate. It's not rocket science, right? It's pretty simple. People have figured it out. If you live healthy, if you have the great walk paths, if you have the gyms, if you change the 3-4-50 strategy, if your diet, your exercise, your smoking, if we can just do those 3 behaviors, we can go to health. So, okay, sounds good. Dr. Sunny, sounds good. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are you going to make this happen? All right, well, we've got some plans here. And we're not even doing this from scratch. There are other people who are doing this. In Vermont, they have a blueprint for health. They're doing that. You know, it's funny that we just showed up the slides of the bike path or the walking paths because that's their main slide. They're showing how they integrate health services with healthcare services. And they're doing it. They're putting the bike paths where people need to go running. They're getting care coordination teams where people who would actually need extra services, they put them where people need them. It's happening around the country. It can happen here. So here's maybe how we can maybe do this. This is kind of a busy slide, but if you hang on with me, maybe you see something that we can try to explain this a little bit. In the first couple years that we've already started working today, we've got some of our great partners in our healthcare systems. We've got the County of Health and Human Services Agency. We're disseminating this kind of optimized inventory of community, health, and social services. All right, I'm going to say that again. Suppose you really easily could figure out where there was a recreation center right down the street from where you lived, or a gym, or a nutrition center. Suppose you had that at your fingertips. Well, we're doing that now to make it really easy so you can do it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to target what we call hotspotters. Now, you may know this about the healthcare system. 1% of people who get healthcare spend about 10% of the cost. 10% of the people spend 70% of the cost. Remember, 24 billion in this county. 10% of people cost 70% of that. So how do we turn that tide? If you mind, go back to the slide real fast. So we're going to identify those hotspotters, okay? We're going to identify those 1% of people who are using healthcare a lot, and we're going to help them do this. We're going to really guide them. And then we're going to show maybe some money savings. Because if we can show people, the healthcare system, some money savings, maybe they'll start to invest in health and the things that you really want. And then in years 3 through 6, we'll start to align them. We'll start to integrate them. And then finally, year 7, we'll get to what we're calling an integration model. So you ever go to the doctor, does he ever tell you to go to another specialist? Does he ever give you some pills? Does he ever tell you to go get a radiological test? Yes. He does that. She does that. But do they ever tell you how to go to the gym? Do they ever tell you about which nutrition center to go to? Do they ever tell you about the health services that exist? They don't, and it's not their fault. Let's not blame them too much. It's not their fault. It's just they don't have it at their fingertips. We want to give them that tool so they can help you get those kind of health services. That's where we're going with this integrated health community concept. We might go back to the slides real fast. So let's talk about the first phase, the first box that we told you about. I'm just going to show you some statistics in the Navy. In just the population and all the active duty folks that you see and all our dependents and all our retirees, 662 people in our system, and we serve about 140,000 at Pendleton and down here at Balboa. Only 662. That's about maybe, I don't know, this side of the room. They spend $32 million. $32 million per year on healthcare. Just about this many people. Can you believe that? That's a lot of money. Do you know what $32 million could do for the Health and Human Services Agency? You know how many bike paths we could create in your community? You know how many parks we could create with $32 million? That's a lot of money. And they just did that in 1 year. Right? They spent about 23 times the average. Now, it's not their fault. Some of this stuff is, they've got cancer, they've got really bad, horrible disease. But we can do things to help it, make it better for them, and maybe even lower costs. Because more is not always better. In fact, more is often worse in terms of healthcare. Okay, so this is the first phase. Let me give you some statistics on where these folks are. Most of them are in the inpatient world. That's where they go to see the doctor in the inpatient world. That's where a lot of these costs go. And it's not just people think, oh, it's just the older folks who are spending a lot of money. It's an intergenerational thing. It's young folks, it's middle-aged folks, it's all across the spectrum. These guys are all across the board. So it's everybody here. We've got to create a solution for everybody. I'm going to kind of skip over this slide a little bit. This is what we do to intervene for these folks. But I'm going to show you this one slide about business case analysis. Of that $32 million that we said, if we can intervene on them, if we can give them some health, and they've already done this in other centers, we show that we can save about $38 million in the blue, just in the Navy healthcare system, in about 5 years. Now, we're not planning to hold on to that money, although some would say we are, but no, we're not. What we want to do is start to give that to health services so we can invest in parks. We can invest in health services so you don't need health care. That's where the savings is going to go. So, sounds good, Dr. Sunny. What do you want me to do? So here's an intergenerational call to action. Here's what you can really, really be a part of. So the first thing is public health service thoughts, 3-4-50. You're going to hear about that all day today. 3-4-50, the county strategy is huge. 3 behaviors. All you got to worry about is your diet, your exercise, try not to smoke. That's it. You do those 3 things, we're going to have an amazing community because the money will transition. It's not just healthcare and all this other jazz. You'll start building your community. We'll get from healthcare and we'll go to health. And remember, folks, we're in this era of economic trouble. Like we're in a lot of fiscal troubles in our state, in our country. We need to save some of this money to keep ourselves going. So let's keep ourselves healthy in the process. We can do that. We really can. And it's individual behavior. So last thing I want to leave you with is some cultural health determinants. Would you happen to know that people associate with similar people? So they've done the science on this. Obesity. You know who obesity folks kind of hang out with? They hang out with other folks who are obese. You know who smokers hang out with? They hang out with other people who smoke. So what's the point? The point being is that economic incentives, i.e. giving you some money not to smoke, is not as powerful as if you, the individual, influence the community and the small little culture. Maybe it's just your family. Maybe it's just a club that you go to. You influencing those people is more powerful than anything else. It's more powerful than the system saying, I'll give you $10 to stop smoking. I'll give you $100 to eat differently. I'll give you $500 to exercise. Doesn't work. But if you change your behavior and you just change 2 or 3 people around you, holy geez, we can change this community. We really, really can. So behavior change is the key. It's absolutely the key. And here's another thing to think about in our intergenerational approach of today. It's shared experiences. In the military, when I go see folks who are like 85 years old, you know what I hear about? They're like, oh, you know, let me tell you about this story when I was in World War II or Korea or Vietnam. And I love hearing those stories because I was in Afghanistan for a year and a half, and we share that stuff together. We have shared experiences. Would you know that you also have a number of shared experiences with the people all around this county? It doesn't matter if you're 85, doesn't matter if you're 15. Maybe you went to the same school. Maybe you grew up in the same place. Maybe you're from around here. Sharing those experiences helps generate that culture shift. What you ate, where you went, all these things, they really start to influence big money and big factors throughout our county. And then finally, social networks are the key. And so whether it's online through Facebook, which is the new generation, whether it's at a club, whether it's just with your family, if you can go to that 3-4-50 strategy, moving to health, creating an intergenerational approach, you can help us in the military, that's for sure, but you can mostly help our county. And that's what we're really, really interested in the military here, because we have got such a huge presence here. We really, really, really want to make this county one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest, as Supervisor Jacobs had mentioned, across the country. Thank you today for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
You know, I think one of the great benefits of having the military in our community is the terrific people that it brings. And so many of them decide to stay, but they are part of our community. So thank you so much. I think you really have a way of giving us a lot of complicated information in a very understandable way and help us move to action. It's so simple. And that point at the end about how we're influenced by those around us, you know, hang on to that thought. Okay, now, because we need to move a little more, we are going to take a 5. Now, you're not leaving, but we're going to be led by Sheena Freeman from the Tri-City Medical Group, Tri-City Medical Wellness Center in Carlsbad. They're one of our sponsors of this event, and she is going to lead us. They have a whole initiative on wellness, and she's going to lead us just in a 5-minute stretch break for just a little bit. So thank you very much. And we'll be just a short break and back, and a couple more speakers to go, including our closing speaker, Richard Dreyfuss.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm very excited. I'm with Tri-City Wellness Center, and I'm happy to say that we are part of the Yellow Group. And today I'm going to go through a few stretches while you're seated so that we can kind of loosen things up. I know we're seated quite a bit throughout the day, and today we'll be seated a bit. So I'm going to show you a few things that can get the blood flowing and make you feel a little bit better after being seated for so long. So for those of you who can actually stand, please go ahead and stand up. Give yourself some room. Watch out for the people next to you. You don't want to hit anyone. And we're going to stretch up big into the sky. Big stretch. And release that. Make sure you're breathing through this. We're going to stretch up again. And if you're unable to stand, just sit in your chair and do these stretches as well. Big stretch up. And release. We're going to roll those shoulders out, forward, and roll them back and shake those hands out. And we're actually going to sit back down again. So when we sit down, we want to make sure that our back is away from the chair. Squeeze those knees together the best we possibly can. And we're going to reach one hand straight up, kind of at a 45-degree angle. Out in front of us, get a little tiny bit of a twist, but keep those knees together. Bring it back down. And we're going to go the opposite side. Reach out those fingertips. Try to touch the ceiling. And bring it back. This next one, we're going to bring our elbow up, hand slightly behind our head, and just get a good reach of the elbow towards the ceiling. And back down. You should feel a little bit of a stretch in that upper back. We're going to try that again with the other side. Reach that elbow up towards the ceiling. Really get a stretch in that upper back. And back down. We're going to take our hand out to the side, so try not to hit your neighbor. Thumb up towards the ceiling, kind of at a slight angle, and slightly take it back. Keep your head in a neutral position. We're opening up the chest here. And back down. Opposite side. Reach that hand out, slightly back and up. And down. This time we're going to take the hand up, put the opposite hand on your chair, and we're going to just slightly tilt to the side, reach towards that far corner. And back down again. Make sure we're breathing through this. Opposite side. Reach towards that opposite corner. And release. If you can get your ankle close to your knee, that would be ideal. If not, that's okay. We'll work our way up to that point. And you can slightly place your hand and just put a little tiny bit of resistance there. Keep the back as flat as you possibly can. Sitting up really tall. You're going to feel a stretch in that hip. And if this feels easy for you, take your belly button towards your leg without rounding your back. So we don't want to round the back. Keep the back as flat as possible. Keep the chin up, slightly leaning forward, and come back. We're going to take that leg down. Let's switch legs. Again, the closer the ankle is to the knee, the more you'll feel that stretch. If your knee is up here, that's okay. You just work with what you've got. We're going to put our hand, just a little tiny bit of pressure, sitting up as tall as you possibly can, keeping that back flat. And very slowly, if you can, keeping the back as flat as possible, slight lean forward, keep your head up. Do you feel that stretch? I'm not hearing anything. And bring it up, good. So you are awake. Okay, so now we're going to slide ourselves to the edge of the chair, go a little bit further to the edge. Make sure our knees are in a 90-degree angle. We're going to take one leg out, toe up. With a flat back, we're going to take that opposite hand and walk our fingers down our leg until we feel a good stretch, keeping the back as flat as possible. So keep in mind, it's just little movements. We don't have to reach super far. We don't want to bounce in any of these movements. We're just holding and breathing. And walk our hand back up. Back to a 90-degree angle with the knees, opposite leg. And we're going to walk our hands down the leg, keeping the back as straight as possible. You should feel that stretch behind the knee, a little bit in the hip as well. And walk those hands back up. Now we're going to take a deep breath and reach up again, really high as you can, and let the air out. One more time, reach up, big reach, and let the hands out, and we're going to shake those hands out. Roll the shoulders, and relax. Now this is something that you can do if you're in your office, if you've been sitting for a long time, just making sure that we're getting some movement in our upper back, or mid-back, which is called our thoracic spine. When we sit for a long time, it puts a lot of pressure on the thoracic spine, which can add stress to the neck and the lower back. So if we have challenges with our lower back and our neck, a lot of the time it's because our mid-back is very tight. So being able to do movements and getting the mid-back to open up and loosen up can really help some of the stress that we find in our neck and our lower back. So I highly encourage you to keep moving, keep stretching, and if there are classes or facilities around where you are, take advantage of some of those classes if you can, and get yourself active and get back into the yellow zone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You know, we have lots of programs around for wellness, from yoga to feeling fit clubs to Tai Chi, a lot of those things that really help us be healthy, improve our balance, help us keep our independence. I'm really pleased. One of the things when we talk about our health and across the ages that's very important, a lot of it we talked about, is our physical health. By the way, somebody came up and wanted me to repeat what the 50 stood for in 3-4-50 because they're getting it. So it's 3 behaviors, right? Eating, we overeat, we're not active enough, and smoking that lead to 4 diseases: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, lung problems. The 50 is those things are creating over 50% of the deaths in this country. 57% in San Diego County. So it's that direct. You know, when you look at the biggest public health issues, 200 years ago it was clean water and sewage, and we went in, and that's what created public health. And we fixed that. 100 years ago, the biggest issues were infectious diseases. And with antibiotics and immunizations, that's really what made it that, you know, within 100 years, we increased life expectancy by 30 years. But ironically now in this century, our biggest challenge, the thing that's killing us this most, isn't some unknown microorganism, it's our own behaviors. So I guess the good news of that is we know it, and we know what we've got to do to change it. So it's not any one thing, it's probably 100, maybe 1,000, but that's what we're here today, is to start looking at those things to really change that. Important part of our health is our mental health. Across the ages, and it's very, you know, when we think of our overall well-being, we don't separate our physical and mental health often. One of our main sponsors today, great partner, been involved with all the planning, is the county's behavioral health, our mental health section. And they've been tremendous partners, and I'm really pleased to introduce our behavioral health director for the County of San Diego, formerly was our mental health director, Alfredo Aguirre.
Good morning, everybody. What a great-looking crowd. The good news is I don't have to follow the keynote speaker, Mr. Dreyfus. First of all, I want to, maybe it's been done already, but I do want to recognize Pam Smith and her team for doing such a wonderful job and pulling all this together, and truly deserve to be commended. Yes, the rumors are true. I am the new Behavioral Health Director of the Health and Human Services Agency. Previously, I was the Director of Mental Health, so I've had the privilege, the distinct privilege of serving your community over the past many years. Our mission at Behavioral Health is to promote healthy, addiction-free communities, and we are also working hard to integrate with physical health to ensure all our clients and their families have medical homes that serve as gateways to complete care. As such, we fully embrace the values of Live Well San Diego and in carrying out its mission. We strive to prevent mental illness or substance abuse problems from starting or getting worse, but we always believe that recovery is possible for almost everyone with a mental health disorder or problems with alcohol and drugs. Research and experience shows that one of the biggest roadblocks to a successful recovery is stigma. Stigma against those who suffer with these challenges. Did you know that nearly 1 in 4 adults and 1 in 5 children suffer from some type of mental or emotional disorder in a given year? If it's so common, why is it so taboo? Most often, people do not want to admit that they're having mental health challenges. They don't seek professional care. They're even afraid to talk about it with their own family. Yet we freely discuss our physical ailments, diabetes, heart conditions, and we get professional help for those conditions. In fact, we expect others to be sympathetic and supportive in these situations, don't we? On the other end, we might know someone who is in pain, and we want to help, but we don't want to intrude. We don't really know how to help these individuals or our loved ones. And maybe we're afraid to talk to that person, so we remain silent. We remain a bystander. But then what happens when mental illness or addiction is out in the open? It can often mean employment and housing discrimination. There's possibility that people may make fun or just don't want to deal with you, or they may be afraid of you. These are all examples of stigma. And the individual who is suffering frequently feels lonely and isolated. They're afraid to seek help, which more often than not just makes the problem even worse. But wait a minute, isn't mental illness just a brain disorder or a serious health condition? We don't laugh at people with kidney disorders, for example. There should not be a difference. It's simple, not easy, but it's simple. Because the good news is that stigma can be reduced simply by talking about it, talking about the illness, and educating our communities about mental health and mental illness. Thanks to the California Voter-Approved Mental Health Services Act of 2004, the county has been able to fund an extensive awareness campaign called It's Up to Us, which launched 2 years ago. And there really has not been such a campaign in this country that I know of. So we really are setting the tone, we're setting the pace for other communities to also start up their particular campaigns. You may have seen ads on television, in movie theaters, and around town, and even in this hall today. The campaign is designed to empower San Diegans to talk openly about mental illness, recognize its symptoms, tap into the local resources, and seek help. And it's working. The website, uptosandiego.org, that's UP2SD.org, has had more than 200,000 unique visitors. And the Access and Crisis line, the number, and I know it's posted all over the hall, is 888-724-7240, is receiving about 1,000 more phone calls a month. So we know people are getting information and learning about how to get help for themselves or their loved ones. And people are learning that there is no shame in getting help and beginning the road to recovery. One of the key concepts of Live Well San Diego is that pursuing good mental health is just as important as striving for good physical health, as Pam alluded to earlier. So what can you do? Each of you should have received a tote bag today. In it, you'll find information on the It's Up to Us campaign. If you think or someone you know may need help, please take these steps. First, please let them know you care. Let them know that help is certainly available. Give them some of your information that's in the tote bag, or refer them to the website at uptosandiego.org. You can also visit our resource table in the back to get more information. Your actions really do make a difference. So thank you, please enjoy your day, and live well, San Diego.
Well, good morning, San Diego. Gee, I wish Garrison Keillor were here, because the women look great, the men look strong, and all of you look above average. So I must be in San Diego. First of all, maybe we ought to start out with exercise. Nobody is getting more exercise than our signer over here. How about it? Well, I'm Bob Pratt, and I'm a volunteer with both ARP of California and the Aging and Independent Services Advisory Council. I'm proud to be so. And I'm given 2 honors this morning. And the first one is for ARP. And as you can see, the ARP volunteers are here today at the tables to celebrate Live Well in San Diego with you all. But just like here, they're here for another purpose that's coming down the pike. They're here to remind you that all of you have paid into Social Security and Medicare, or are doing so, along with 198 million other Americans, and you certainly deserve a say in the future of these programs. I know in ARP we've had millions, literally millions of our members tell us that it's time to move the debate which is coming down the pike on Social Security and Medicare out of the back rooms in Washington and into an open national conversation. And that's just what we're doing with the ARP initiative. You've earned a say. So if you hunt through your welcome bag, you'll find that you earned a say. The questionnaire on these programs that are so key to living well for hundreds of thousands of us in San Diego and our families. You can employ that questionnaire to join a national conversation on Medicare and Social Security. Just answer a few questions that express your opinion and take the questionnaire to the ARP information booth. There's one on each site, there's one over here. There aren't any wrong answers to this. It's your opinion that counts. Your opinion is the right answer, and you just need to share what you think. When you drop off the questionnaire, the ARP volunteer will present you with a small "I've had my say" magnet. They won't dip your thumb in ink, purple ink. They'll just give you a "I've had a say" button. And thank you for taking the time for doing the civic action and providing your opinion on these programs that are so vital to many of us. Since we've launched this You've Earned a Say questionnaire, we've heard from hundreds of thousands of people across the nation who have told us how important Social Security and Medicare are and continue to be to their health and financial security. To date, the vast majority also say that the programs need some adjustments in order to be put on stable ground for the rest of this century for our kids. But people also tell us something else. They want to know that any changes increase the value of the program, make it secure, affordable now, and for future generations, namely our kids. So if you want to more by visiting a website called Earned a Say, it's all mashed together, www.earnedasay.org, you can get a balanced pro and con analysis of about 15 specific proposals, which are now in the back rooms in Washington on Medicare, 15 specific proposals which are in the back rooms now on Social Security, and you can add your say, which is our civic duty, to these specific proposals, exactly how you feel about them. Through communications devices like these questionnaires, town halls, listening sessions, ARP staff and volunteers are committed to facilitating and helping you make your voice heard and providing you with information about the proposals on the table in Washington, hopefully without political jargon and spin. So let's share your ideas directly with the members of Congress, the President, those out on the campaign trail this fall, you can do this by adding your opinion to the questionnaire and either dropping it off at the ARP booth, taking it out of your sack there, or at your leisure, pull it out, fill it out, and mail it in to ARP using the pre-printed postmark on the questionnaire. And thank you for doing that. But don't do that just yet.
But I want to say a couple of things here that I think Mr. Dreyfus made some very important points. That whole theme of respect and reflecting back on our lives and maybe some of the things we would have tried a little harder, done a little better, that's the very lessons of living a long, full life we want to share with other generations. It's that encouragement for them. I heard somebody say something, always do your best, and your best will get better. Those messages that we have, and his message of civic engagement for youth is so, so important. For them to fully understand the sacrifices that all of us, our ancestors, our parents and grandparents have made to give us this life that we have is incredible. And we have to let them know that that doesn't come without hard work. Those are strong messages that we need to translate with our youth, and that message of respect. When we see so many youth, we have a lot of kids that don't have enough caring adults in their life. Nancy mentioned that. They often struggle to find that kind of self-respect that is really needed to become a successful adult and have a happy life. And so taking that kind of message in, you know, when we talk about running intergenerational programs to build better health, you come together and do a community garden, you know, we do the activities. Think of the conversations that go on at the intergenerational community garden about these kinds of things. That's what is the richness that we have when we bring the generations together. And the one other point I wanted to mention that Mr. Dreyfus said is he talked about, you know, getting kind of a scam or some problems with his house. That is not altogether unusual across. You know, the good news is we're living longer. The good news is never before have we had this many people live this long, that are this well educated, that are this healthy, that have this much to offer, and how do we tap into that? But the sad side is some of that, as we see with our growing older adult population, is people taking advantage of that. And unfortunately, what's growing is the issue of elder abuse. We have both state and now some new federal legislation. And I actually have today is a proclamation that was signed by President Obama declaring today, June 15th, 2012, as Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And it's a long document about, again, when you talk about respect, we need to turn that respect back and respect those that have done this and make sure they have safe lives. And so one of the things we do at Aging and Independent Services is we investigate elder abuse. We get about 1,000 calls a month in San Diego County to go out and investigate financial abuse, physical abuse, neglect, emotional abuse. But what we know, and here's a message that the last one I would give is, a senior is the most vulnerable when they're off, alone, and isolated. When they don't have someone to say, do you think this is a good value for a new roof? Do you think that I should, you know, those questions, keep them involved. And that's what this message is about today, about intergenerational programs to build better health. We need you to be there to help build a healthy community, to help improve your health, and to help improve the health and the future of the generations that come after us. So respect is a great theme that comes, and I think that's what really comes out of the generations coming together. So thank you very much for being here. One of the things, we had such a great big turnout for this that someone said to me, to quote someone, we need to get a bigger boat. But we have expanded, and there are 3,000 of us today in San Diego County marching down. And remember, at the end of this general session, which only lasts about another 15 minutes, we're going to start planning about what to do with all this information this morning. you know, from Dr. Hankin, what Supervisor Jacob told us, what Dr. Rashhamdani said. How do we move together on this? And really, someone who has been our leader on building better health, who really initiated the path that we're going down and is so articulate and such a champion, is our agency director, Nick Massione. And I am very pleased. I've worked closely with Nick for 13 years, 14 years. Believe me, we are in good hands as he heads our agency. I'm very pleased to introduce Nick Massione.
Thank you, Pam. Wow, what a crowd. I am so excited to be here this morning with you. And I just got to share with you, my day started not with all of you in the kickoff this morning. Mine started in a little elementary school because my 12-year-old was graduating, or like they say, promoting to middle school. And what struck me was, as a proud parent, my daughter giving one of the student keynote speeches, was the room was filled with inspiration. The room was filled with innovation. The room was filled with intergenerational spirit. You see, intergenerational is something that happens almost every day in our great county for the some 650,000 school-age kids. Mentored by teachers, mentored by parents, mentored by people like yourself who make time to volunteer in the classroom, by coaches, by neighbors. And what I love about what I've experienced today is that we are on this journey of wellness we call Live Well San Diego, led by our leaders and the Board of Supervisors and all of us together. But we are living to the character of this region. You've heard that you judge a civilized society by the way you treat your young and your old. Well, that is happening in our community. And in fact, we're bringing the inspiration and the innovation together on this intergenerational to drive wellness for ourselves, for our future generations. You've heard terrific examples of how that's taking place in all four corners of our county. And many are coming to San Diego to kind of observe and hear and live in a community that embodies these principles of wellness. And although we have a lot to learn, I can say this: it starts with us. Alfredo Gehrig talked about it's up to us campaign. It's up to all of us on this issue of achieving wellness. And it starts first with this concept of inspiration. Are we inspired to act? I'm hoping what you've achieved today is not only good knowledge, but the inspiration to make a difference in your own well-being, in your health, in your exercise, and if you're doing it, helping someone else that may not. The inspiration to stop smoking, or if you know someone who is, to help them stop smoking. The inspiration to help our entire community. And we know one person can make a difference. That was illustrated. But two people in an intergenerational arena can make even a bigger difference. And this is where it gets very exciting for us, because we're adding all of you. You're here because you are inspired to learn, to network, and to take action. And we're going to help you with that. We have a very exciting, and I have the honor to announce a new challenge for all of you. And I'm going to bear the exercise. Raise your hand if you're inspired, because I know I'm going to say if you're sitting down, you're inspired. That makes all of you. So you're going to be part of this new challenge, which is about these Jumpstart, what we're calling the Jumpstart grants. And in fact, we have 6 Jumpstart opportunities, one for each of our geographical regions for the Health and Human Service Agency. We have one in North Coastal, one in North Inland, one in North Central, one in East, one in the Central region, and one in the South region. And after the summit concludes, we're going to make available in each of these regions $10,000, an opportunity to jumpstart an intergenerational program in your community that will help bring older adults with other generations to identify solutions to those concerns most prevalent and of passion to you. It's anticipated that this funding is going to be awarded and spent starting in July, just around the corner, over a 12-month period. And if you're interested in being part of this exciting opportunity, and I sure hope you are, we need your ideas. And in fact, we ask that you join us this afternoon and sit in on the intergenerational panel discussions, where we're going to be thinking out loud together about what those solutions might look like. You'll learn more about health concerns in your region. You're going to meet some of your own neighbors and maybe new friends in these breakout sessions, clearly with other community leaders, as we think about how do we do intergenerational on wellness. Now, the applicants for these Jumpstart grants are going to have to be nonprofit and government entities, but all individuals are welcomed. In fact, we need you to partner up with these organizations because it's going to be about us, not about an organization, but about us developing a program that we're going to nurture in each of these 6 geographical regions. And the county is going to highlight, we're going to help. Not only are we going to award, but we're going to create the highlights in each one of these programs to showcase the innovation and the inspiration coming together on intergenerational. To continue to showcase how we as a community are solving our own problems, not coming from Sacramento, not coming from Capitol Hill, but solving our own problems here. So you can count on hearing much more about what we're doing with Live Well San Diego, our initiative, and I can't be more pleased that you've made the time to be here with us today, not only to hear, again, and learn, but importantly, to share. Intergenerational doesn't start after this conference. It's happening right now. So I encourage you to share, to meet, to network your stories, your beliefs, and join us in this afternoon session. Now, I have the honor of introducing another leader who's been a staunch supporter of the formerly Aging Summits, now Live Well Summits, but a champion on wellness. Supervisor Pam Slater-Price, who is actually ending her term of nearly 20 years. And I can tell you, she found this region when she started, and she's made it a much better place as a result of her leadership with the rest of the Board of Supervisors. Let's give a round of applause to Supervisor Pam Slater-Price.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once again and to see so many people who are here again interested. And just simply by being here, you're on a really great start. You're on a great path. And there are so many things that you do for yourself each and every day. And this is, I think, a good chance for a reminder of all of that, as well as an opportunity to learn a lot about the opportunities that do exist and the information that we have to make those possible for you. We love doing this summit. Now it's called Live Well, which I think is a better name for it because we want everyone to live well. And certainly what you learn here will enable you to do that today. Also, the concept of intergenerational is so very important because at the County of San Diego, we handle children from birth to death, really, in one capacity or another. And I can tell you there are a lot of children right now who do not have caring and supportive adults in their life. And if you just see the news stories lately, you'll see what happens to children when they really are cast adrift. And through no fault of their own, they find themselves in a position where they have no mentor, no person to turn to, and it's a scary place for them. So oftentimes a person who is retired or who has a reduced work schedule and has the ability to give back, their talents and their comfort and their maturity and their knowledge is so desperately needed by a lot of kids these days. So if that tugs at your heartstrings, or if it sounds like something you might be interested in, the need is great. Your volunteering would be very welcome, and we need people to help out with children from preschool, infants, preschool, all the way up through teenagers. And what you find really working with children is that children need as much help when they're teenagers as they do when they're toddlers. It's a different kind of a need, but they're equally adrift at that time, and they really do need a lot of mentoring and caring. So that's just a little side note from someone whose daughter is now 32 and well-launched, and I'm very happy about that. Many of you have attended our previous aging summits, as they were called then. And as you know, there's a good exchange of information at all of these meetings between professionals, and in return with your personal experiences and opinions, which aids us in planning future informational summits. Our goal is to do a better job serving seniors and every citizen. It's our job to help you to live well. And I think you've heard more about that this morning, and you'll certainly be learning more about it later today. Each of our summits has produced important new programs and services for older adults, such as the county-funded senior transportation grants and the creation of intergenerational and caregiver coordinator positions. Feedback from an earlier summit spurred the creation of a call center with a single, easy-to-remember telephone number, 1-800-510-2020. Think about that. That's an easy number to remember, 1-800-510-2020. This is a number for older adults to call for better access to services and resources. And of course, we always have 211. You can always call 211 as well. Today's event is called Live Well San Diego Summit rather than the Aging Summit, and we'll produce results as we always do. Results that make a difference for people in our community here of all ages. I'm proud of my support and encouragement for the programs that you see here today. I believe strongly in citizen involvement, and certainly this involvement is such an example. By your participation, you're making our county a better place to live. Thank you very much for coming out today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I have just a few wrap-up comments here. First of all, thank you, Supervisor Slater-Price, for all your support of our events and ongoing. You really have helped us tremendously. We appreciate it. One thing she mentioned on volunteering, because a lot of this is about volunteering, lots of data, those that volunteer are healthier. So, you know, you think you may be volunteering to help a youth, you're going to find you're going to improve your own health. Okay, we're going to, in the next couple of minutes, wrap up our webcast, and then we're all going to get to work. And when I finish, at each of the sites, including here, someone will get up and tell you what the next steps are. We have vendors at each site with lots of information. We have lunch, and then we have panels and workshops, because remember, what we want to do is take everything we heard this morning, health, intergenerational, where do we want to go, and start developing some plans. And we have some money to help jumpstart us and get it going. So I want to, in closing, thank our sponsors. We really had some terrific people that have stepped up to help us. Oh, I need to go back one. Our agency has been a major sponsor of this, and I really appreciate, again, Behavioral Health, Health Services, and Aging and Independent Services, AARP, Tri-City Medical Center, First Five of San Diego, and they are also funding one of our 5 and Fit programs that we're going to be launching. Elmcroft Senior Living and Kaiser, Community Research Foundation, Mental Health Services, MetLife, Mount Miguel Covenant Village, and Molina Healthcare. They literally have stepped up with some money to help us put all this on. I just, in closing, want to really thank, as you can imagine, this is complex. We've had a fabulous committees working on this for here and at each of our sites. I want to just publicly thank everybody that worked on this. We'll be talking more, and you'll hear more at the sites. It really took a lot of people to make this happen, but now we need you to step up and help us move forward. So with this, I'm going to conclude the webcast announcements out. So every site will now start planning and working. And I'm going to turn this over to Ellen Schmeeding, who is the Assistant Deputy Director at Aging and Independent Services. And she's going to give you next steps for here. So thank you again for participating. By the way, Ellen was one of our key leaders in putting this all together. So thank you very much.
Hi, I see everybody heading for the doors, but if you could take a minute just to listen to a few updates. I'm Ellen Schmeeding, and I'm with Aging and Independent Services, and I just want to say thank you to one and all for coming out to join us on this very important day that really gets us started on our future actions to improve health and well-being in our community. So before we break for lunch, we have our evaluation form. Hopefully everybody has looked in your bags and has found this form. It also doubles as your raffle ticket and your lunch ticket. So take a look, pull that out, go ahead and detach your mail ticket. There's no rush. We have plenty of food for everybody. Also on the green form is a raffle ticket. What we will need you to do is remain for the afternoon, participate, and then give us all your feedback on the evaluation so we can be sure and improve future events for you. What you'll do is you'll keep the raffle ticket, and when you turn in the evaluation, you will turn in your raffle ticket. There'll be boxes all over the area for you to deposit that raffle ticket. And everybody always wants to know, do I have to be present to win? Yes, you do. But we have some wonderful prizes, as you can see over on the table right here. Besides lunch, we would love for you to get back out there and visit our exhibitors. We have more than 100 exhibitors from all walks of life that are here to provide you with some excellent, excellent information. We also have a computer lab in the California room where persons of all ages can join together and get some tips and tricks on using the computer. Now you can stay in this room where we're going to profile some intergenerational videos that we'd love you to watch. There are tables outside you can use for lunch. There's tables in the breakout rooms, and it's a beautiful day. We hope by now. We'd love for you to join us outside. But don't go too far, because we have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon session. Hopefully everyone has taken a look at what the afternoon holds for you. We have a drumming circle right here in the exhibit hall. That'll be intergenerational. You heard from Dr. Nancy Henkin. She and other panelists will be available to help us with future directions for intergenerational programming. That will be in the Golden West room. Then we have actors with the Playwright Project. They will do a reading of an intergenerational play in the San Diego room. So I ask right now that you take a look at your program, go ahead and get out your evaluation form. While it's still fresh in your mind, if you'll give us some feedback on the morning, grab your lunch ticket, and then head for the lunch lines. And I'll be back a little later to raffle off these goodies that you see right over here. Thank you.